Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever in the world you are. I am in Mestia, Georgia. Now, this is the second time that I'm doing this video because the first time I did it, I didn't realize that there was no sound. So hopefully it works this time and I don't have to do it again. So today's video is a response video, and it's in response to the video I made with Rukube Kassanga, who is a critical reasoning coach, and we did a video on critical thinking. Let me just pull up my file here. Wrong phone. Oh no, there's the right phone. Okay, and then the reason we did this video is because Rukube, I wanted him to share his approach of reasoning and deciphering a topic by applying critical reasoning. And then we decided that the topic we will use is the Russia-Ukraine war, because I do controversial topics, so that's the topic we did. And but so before I get into this, let me first put a disclaimer out there. I am not an expert on any of the topics that I usually share on this channel. I am a lay person when it comes to these things. And what I do is I choose controversial topics because I'm not an expert in those, and then I try to apply critical reasoning in understanding these topics or these issues or these situations, whether it's abortion, the death penalty, now the Ukraine war, homosexuality, whatever the controversial topic of the day is, that is what I do. Okay, so let me put that out there. I am a stupid person who knows nothing about these topics. Actually, that's a lie, because I do know some of it. But although I'm not an expert in these things, I do have a functioning brain, functioning retinas. There's nothing wrong with my ears, so I can still learn. Because learning is never ending. The other reason why I do this is because there's this thing going around where to shut conversations down, it's people, if you want to voice an opinion or perspective on something, they want to shut down the conversation by censoring your speech. And how they do that is they will throw it in your face that you are not an expert. Yes, I'm not an expert, but I do live in this universe, and I have to navigate in and through this universe. And the only way I can do that is not by letting experts nyak on the top there, and all I do down here is like, okay. No, it's by listening to them, taking what they've said, do my own little research on it, and then form my perspective or opinions about it, and then navigate my life. And I think this is what we all should do, because it's best that we are all not sheeple, right? Who wants to be a sheep and just simply follow? I mean, some people do, but as long as it's not the majority, I think the world will be a better place. So that's what I do. The other thing is, the reason I make these videos is because I am nobody significant, nothing, zero person. I'm just here. You can see my subscribers, my followers. Nobody cares about me, which is fine, because nobody cares about me because I'm alive. When I'm dead, that's when people will come watch my videos. So these videos I'm making for when I'm not here, because that's how it works. Nobody cares about you when you're alive, but when you're dead, everyone wants to come crying and bring flowers and yeah. So, but that's okay. That's life. Okay, so we have that out of the way. What else is there that I need to talk about? I don't think so. I don't think there's anything else. Okay, so going back to the video we made and my response to it. So in this video, Rukube decided that he is going to, he said, this is what he said. He said, my approach of reasoning and deciphering will be based on analyzing the following bullet points. Sorry, someone's knocking something outside. So I will link that video down here below so that if you want, you can go watch that video. Okay, so the 3 points were, number one, the justification for Russia's so-called special military operation. So he was going to decipher that and analyze it and apply critical thinking to his understanding of that. Okay, then number two is the claims against the Ukrainian government's actions towards the Russian minorities in the likes of the Donbass. Then number three, if the economic sanctions against Russia are proportionate considering what USA and the West did in Iraq. Okay, so then in the video you can see him and I talking about this. But now I am going to decipher this myself. Like now he's my teacher and this is the assignment that I now have to use critical reasoning in coming to an opinion or perspective regarding these three topics, right? So the first topic is the justification for Russia's so-called special military operation. Okay, now in his video, he did mention that, you see here, he put special military operation. Now he put that because that is what Russia calls it or called it at that time. Now, I'm not going to say Putin because Putin is just one person. And I know a lot of people still think Russia is communism, but hello, you all have to get with the program. The last thing that Russians are these days are communists. No, those are crazy capitalists. You can see them all over the world, okay, owning a lot of things. So, because they are not communists, I'm not only just going to talk about Putin, I'm talking about the government. So I'm just going to say Russia. And it doesn't help to talk about just the president, because the president is just one part of the machine. Okay, so the Russian machine. So what Rukube says, what he noticed, now he usually he was referring to like things he saw in mainstream media, is that people were talking it, although Russia was saying it's a military operation, they were talking about it as being an invasion, others were like an attack, others was it's a conflict, others it was a war. And I've noticed this too because it depends on which part of the world you're living in. Because not everybody's on the same track with what's going on there. So so what is the justification for Russia's so-called special military operation? So then he said words matter. So you must first decide whether you think it's whatever Russia operation, blah, 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 or conflict or war or whatever. You have to decide what it is. And then from there you can go to the next part, which is then the justification, if there is. Okay, so how I will do it is, me being the stupid person that's not an expert, that knows nothing about these things, which is actually not true because my husband is ex-military, so I do know a little bit about military warfare and strategies and stuff like that. But anyway, I will look at the word invasion. I will see it as an invasion. So what will I do is I'll go to, because luckily, modern technology, I've got three things in front of me, modern technology. I can go and look up the Oxford definition of invasion. Now, I only use Oxford because that's the Queen's English, like, hello, excuse me. Okay, what does invasion mean? So what it says there and what Russia did, it's an invasion. Then I also look at the Geneva Convention's definition of of invasion. There you go, Russia. And then I look at the ICC, the International Criminal Court's definition. They're all the same. Now, of course, there are some analysts who are now coming with a new concept of invasion. Because, why again, I forgot. Because over the years, what is considered an invasion has changed. The definition has changed. So they have just come up with ideas on how the way wars are fought now, what an invasion could mean. Because now, now we have missiles that can rocket over a border, like Israel does it all the time, from Israel to Palestine. You can just shoot missiles across the border. So is that an invasion? Because before invasion, it's just when you take your military troops into another country, you cross into their border. But doing this is the same thing, because the aim is the same thing. The aim is weapons are going over the border and it's causing death and destruction with the goal in mind. So anyway, but just going back to the basic one where troops go over the border, etc. So it's an invasion. This is how my reasoning would be of that. Then I would go to the next one, which is the justification for Russia's invasion. So is there justification? So then what I would do is I would look at why did Russia invade? What's their reason? They gave 3 reasons. Number 1, they said Ukraine wanting to join NATO is a threat to Russian security, to Russian national security. So, because of that, I have to go and look at why are they saying that, which I did. But actually, to be honest, I didn't really have to, because I have known this for years. Because contrary to some people, they don't really know me. They think they know me, but they don't. They think I have no brains, that I have never studied anything except ballet. They don't know that I am a nerd. I've always been a nerd. And people who went to school with me, people who went to university with me, they know that. I am a nerd. So I have always known that NATO was expanding eastward, which was against the agreement that they made. And I've known, because I've been reading this for years, that Ukraine had to stay neutral in order for Russia not to feel a security threat, because Ukraine was always and still is the red line for Russia. Now, how do I know this? Because I follow great intellectuals like Noam Chomsky, John Mearsheimer. I follow political analysts, Aaron Mate. I follow independent journalists who are also political analysts like Max Blumenthal. I follow military analysts like Colonel Douglas McGregor, like Scott Ritter. Oh, there's so many, just to name a few, because at the moment they like the current ones that are in the forefront. Okay, there's many others, I can't remember their names, but I'm always reading up on these things and I can't remember everybody's name. But they normally all say the same thing. Even Joe Biden, I think the 90s said, or the 80s said the same thing, that the red line for Russia is Ukraine, and Ukraine has to always stay neutral. There were videos out about a month ago, still the video was out. Now I just looked for it now. I cannot find it anyway. I should have saved that video, but anyway, I didn't. But there is a video of him saying that. Not just him. Also, most, if not every, world leader agrees with that. That Ukraine has to stay neutral. And even if they don't agree that Ukraine has to stay neutral, they all understand that Ukraine is the red line for Russia. So why does Russia have a red line? All countries have a red line. Even, it was just now proven by Australia when China formed an alliance with the Solomon Islands. Now Australia's up in arms because that is a red line for them, because they feel it's a threat to their country, which West is supporting. Yes, it's a threat, which is weird because the Solomon Islands is what 1,000, if not more, kilometers away from the Australian border, whereas Ukraine and Russia is what 1 millimeter distance between the two borders. So which one is which country has a bigger national security threat? Okay, but this is me, using critical reasoning, because I think this is reasoning, whether it's critical or I think I'm reasoning like 1,000 kilometers, 1 millimeter. They view it as a red line. I would think that is how it works, right? But I might be wrong, because maybe that's not critical reasoning. That's just me thinking things. Anyway, and also when we look at the missile crisis, the Cuban missile crisis, when Russia put missiles in Cuba, that was the red line for the US, because Cuba's there, Miami's just across the ocean. It almost started World War III, the Cuban Missile Crisis. So was that justified? Everybody said, yeah, it's justified. Not an invasion, but it would be justified that the US would be all up in arms, right? Okay, so we agreed with that. Everybody agreed that Russia cannot put, what is this thing? Missiles in Cuba because it's a red line for the US and it will cause World War III. Also, can you imagine if Mexico and Russia decided to have an alliance and then Russia decided to put weapons on the border of Mexico and US? Will that be allowed? Let's be honest, will that be allowed? No, it will not, because the US will retaliate, because that is a red line for them, because it's a threat to their national security. Anyway, that's just me, using critical reasoning, I think, but Rukube will watch this video afterwards and then he will tell me if I'm right or wrong. Because to me, it's just a kind of a tit for tat kind of thing, right? If you put it here, then I can also put it here. Okay. So is there justification? That's number one. So Russia is like saying, we are feeling threatened. And if they don't back down, they didn't want to back down. That's why we had to invade them, to show them, you better not. And the reason they call it a military operation is because when you look at what Colonel Scott Ritter says about the Russian way, the Russian battlefield strategy, which my husband agrees with, is a very slow one. They don't go into they go in bit by bit. And what they do is, like they did in Kiev, they cordon off the whole area. They put it like under hostage. They hold the city hostage, and then they get the mayor, kidnap the mayor, and then they will negotiate with the mayor they will negotiate on what is happening, and then they will try by using this it's like what do you call it? It's like a force, like a threat on the city. We are around you. This is what we want. And when they get what they want, then they retreat, which is what happened. They were there, and then they did all the negotiations and with Erdogan and everything, and then it was decided that, okay, on the 13th of March, NATO is not, Ukraine's not going to join NATO. So then they moved away. They did not surrender or retreat. It's like, okay, we've accomplished our mission. Anyway, so that's the first thing. But the question is it, I went off on a rant, which I normally do, sorry, but that's just how I think. So let's come back again. That's the other thing. If you listen to me, you have to, because of the way I think, you probably have to listen 2 minutes and then think what I said and then go there next to the next, because I know everyone's brain doesn't work as fast as mine. Okay, so sometimes things I say gets twisted in your head, and then you come at me, then I have to play the thing again for you, and then I have to break it down for you, and then you're like, oh, okay, I see. Yeah, so just I advise you, because I sometimes go off on a rant. So coming back to justification. So is it justified? I don't know. What do you think? Okay, right. Second thing, it's not about who's right or who's wrong. It's about, is there justification? So the justification is, if you are a country and you feel threatened, what do? Do you sit back and just like, oh, go ahead, put your missiles here in Cuba? We are okay in the US. We'll just relax as we see you put your missiles there, and we won't do anything. So if you feel that's the right way to that's the right approach, then that's fine. But if you feel the approach should be, you are Cuba, you cannot put your missiles there because it threatens our country. And if you don't stop it, we're going to come there and we are going to invade your country and do something to you. And then if Cuba's like, yeah, we don't want to be keeping our missiles here because we've got China is going to back us up, and Russia's going to back us up, and then should the US go in and go and show them that, hey, we are being serious, or should the US just, okay, please go ahead? So I think not, right? Okay, so that's one thing. The second thing that Russia said is that it wants Donetsk and Lugansk, those two cities, they want them to be recognized as independent. Now, this one you have to know history. The history of the Donbass, because that area is in the Donbass region, is a very long history, which started long before the stupid war. Started in 2014 already, if not further, with Hitler's time already. So, but the main fighting started 2014, okay, with the Maidan coup. And how I know this is because I have always been, I always followed Vice and Max Blumenthal and these people on YouTube. And they were always talking about this. And the reason it interests me is because they were always saying Ukraine, because Ukraine is very corrupt and it's a Nazi state, which they've proven. They've proved that it's a Nazi state. So does it make sense that for Russia, is it justified that they want independence for Lugansk and Donbass? Now, Ukraine is a sovereign state, so you cannot invade a sovereign state. Oh, now I'm going back. So as far as I'm concerned, that is wrong. So what Russia did to invade the country, besides the justification, before we get to the justification, I'm jumping the gun now. My other video was much better. It was more, what do you call it? Chronological. But anyway, so was it right for Russia to invade Ukraine? No, because Ukraine is a sovereign state. Going back to sovereign state now. Some new analysts are also saying, yes, Ukraine is a sovereign state. But again, what is the definition of a sovereign state now? Because Ukraine, before 2014, was under an elected government, okay, elected by the people. With the help of the US, that elected government was overthrown. So it's regime change. It was overthrown, okay? And then it was changed to a different government. Now, Zelensky, he did get the popular vote, but he got it on a campaign that he was going to bring peace to the east of the eastern region of Ukraine. So some analysts are saying if a government is overthrown by an outside government that came in to overthrow that government, is that considered a sovereign country? But that's the new thinking. It's not confirmed yet. They just playing around with days. They still, what do you call this word, spitballing about it. But as it stands now, it's an invasion. Ukraine's a sovereign country, and that is wrong. So please, anybody who's not listening, it's Ukraine. I am not saying it's not a sovereign country. I'm saying it is. And when you invaded a sovereign country, it is wrong. Please note that. Take note of that. Okay, so going back to the Donbass. So the Donbass, you have to know the history of the Donbass, and I know it very well. Like I said, I've done the research. So why do I say I'm applying critical reasoning here? Is because I went to go read what happened in the Donbass. I watched videos, I followed news reporters, independent and mainstream, because before the 24th of February, the whole world was against what Ukraine was doing in the Donbass, because they were persecuting, torturing, and killing the civilians there. And that is why, because anyone, and the whole state there is this whole, there are these right sector groups, white nationalists, white supremacists, white people who subscribe to white domination. They are Nazis. They even wear the Nazi insignias. They have the Volksangel as their insignia. They have the hooked cross, and I don't say swastika because swastika is a Hindu symbol. The hooked cross, that Nazi skull thing, they use all that. They have the Nazi propaganda, the ideology. They do the Slava Ukraina Nazi salute, and I'm doing it here on YouTube. Because if they can do it on YouTube, I should be able to do it on YouTube as well. So YouTube, you can censor my video, whatever, but just so you know, because Nazis now very in. So this is what. So this they were these, like, they were first of all they were independent militia. But then what happened is the Ukrainian government put them into the Ukrainian National Armed Forces. They are now part of the National Armed Forces, which means the Ukrainian government is supporting Nazism. Because why are they in the National Armed Forces? It's like the US putting the Ku Klux Klan's militia into their National Guard. It's a no-no. And on top of that, these Nazis are being funded by the US. They have the support of the US. So the whole thing that was going on in the Donbass was a case of make Nazis great again. And then these Nazis, because of these Nazis, you have who were oppressing so this whole Ukrainian army, the Ukrainian National Armed Forces, with the Nazis inside them. So I'll just say the Nazis. They were oppressing the people of the Donbass. And the ones they were oppressing were the pro-Russians, the Russian speakers, the minorities like the Romani, the LGBTQ community, the Jews, anyone who was other, anyone who was not in following their ideology, which is white nationalism, which is, blonde, blue-eyed, white skin, and that kind of ideology. If you are not in this category, you are a subhuman, you are inferior. You do not deserve to be treated as a human being. And there are many, many, many videos online where you can see how they ill-treat these people. And if you want, I can send it to you so that you can also have nightmares like I did when I saw these videos a few times, the first few times. Okay? So this is what was happening in the Donbass. And at that same time, the Donbass then decided they wanted to be independent from Ukraine, because although they are Ukrainian, they also feel we are Russians. You see? This is the problem there. So, like, I stand with Ukraine, but I stand with the people in Ukraine that are fighting now against the Ukrainian forces. It doesn't mean I'm anti-Ukraine or against you, no, because I'm still standing with the Ukrainian people, because the Donbass region is in Ukraine. So just because I do not support Nazism, white domination, white supremacy, white nationalism, doesn't mean I'm a bad person. It just means that's not my thing. I don't see why one, just because you got white skin or you think you are better than the next person. Sorry, I don't subscribe to that. That's just rubbish. Okay? Anyway, so for me, when I use my critical reasoning about the justification for Russia to invade to help these people, I would say it makes sense, because also these two cities, Donetsk and Lugansk, they have their own militia. Donetsk has a DPR, which is a Donetsk Public Republic, DPR, and then the LPR, which is the Lugansk People's Republic. Okay, DPR, Donetsk People's Republic. They have their own militia who are fighting against these Ukrainian forces, which also have all these Nazis in the force, which is supported by the government, the Ukrainian government, and the US government. And now the world supports these Nazis to fight against these few people, this minority, who all that they want is they want independence from this oppression that they were getting from that side. That's all that they want. Okay, and so Russia, because these people are Russians, are coming to help them. So for me, as a critical thinker, I'm thinking someone has to help them. But on the other hand, for Russia to invade, I think is not right, but they could have done maybe send arms. I don't know, but that's the story. If I apply critical reasoning, that's the story that's happening there. So they could be justified. It's nowhere here or there. It depends on who you care about. I care about people in general, but I especially care about this minority here because they are being treated as subhumans. When you see the video, you will agree with me. Now, am I pulling this out of my backside, this information, because I'm the stupid that only know about ballet? No. John Mersheimer, Noam Chomsky, or the political analysts, or the mainstream media, the independent journalists from even before the war, before people even knew that Ukraine existed, they spoke about all of this. And I used to follow Vice. Vice, I still follow Vice though, although now they're so busy with all this woke stuff. Vice, they are very, very good at reporting what is happening, what was happening that time. I will link videos, some of the videos here that they used to report on. That time Vice was happening. If I'm not mistaken, one of their journalists even got captured by the one of the right sector groups. I don't know if it's Azov or one of the others. They got captured. Because, these days we are making Nazis great again. I don't know why we are doing that, but that's what we are doing. So this is what's happening in the Donbass. So Russia, they feel the invasion is justified because they want to help. They want Ukraine to give these people their independence. Now, before this happened, there was a Minsk agreement. Many years ago, there's Minsk 1, there was a Budapest, then there was a Minsk 1 and Minsk 2 agreement. In the agreement, it already stated what Ukraine has to do in order to give these people independence. They just want autonomy. They didn't even want independence at that time. They just wanted autonomy, which is different. Now they want independence. That time was autonomy. All that Ukraine had to do was give them the points. What did Ukraine do? Ignored it, didn't even sign it, just dishonored it completely. Now they are in this mess. So is that critical thinking or is it just me talking rubbish? I don't know. We'll get Mr. Rukube to decide what he thinks about what I'm saying. Okay, and whether I'm stupid, whether I'm a person who knows nothing about these things, whether only experts should talk about these things, whether us lay people, we don't live in this world, we are sheep, we must just follow our masters. Yes, my basi, yes, my basi. Like we used to do in South Africa during the apartheid. We just used to, yes, my basi, we just follow whatever we get told and we just follow. Yeah, I don't know, those days are over for me. Okay, so the other video was much better. This one is like, I don't know. I don't have passion for it. I just find it so. Okay. So the last thing is, oh, sorry, this was not about justification. This one is just the claims against Ukrainian government actions towards the Russian minorities. Yes, the claims that they are ill-treating the people, mistreating, persecuting, oppressing, persecuting, torturing and killing the people in the Donbass. True, because the Donbass people want independence. And the third thing that Russia wanted, that their reason for the invasion, they say, is that Crimea must be recognized as independent, which I think that one was already a given because they had a referendum in Crimea, I think it was also 2014, and people there voted to become a part of Russia. And why wouldn't they? Russia is a better country than Ukraine economically in all ways. People who understand, who knows what's going on in that area will know. Ukraine was uh, just before the war, was like a day before the war, people were still talking about the poverty there, the inequality, the Nazis, and the corruption. But now, because the war is on and everyone is pro-Ukraine, we don't talk about that anymore. It's like, oh, Nazis are good, they're the best. You know, I think that's the fourth time I did that. Let's see what happens to me. Just so you know, I am very anti-Nazis. I know Polish people, you guys are all okay with the Nazis now, the Germans. Well, of course, you would be okay with the Nazis. So it goes without saying. But me, no. Sorry, it's never going to happen. Okay. Right. So the last one is coming back to the claims of the things in the Donbass. I'll link all the videos, not all, but some videos below where you can read about what happened in the Donbass to the people there. And then you make up your mind, okay? Then the last thing is, if the economic sanctions against Russia are proportionate considering what USA and the West did to Iraq. Now, again, you have to use critical reasoning here. So what I'm going to do is, I'm going to look at, did the USA and the West invade Iraq? Okay. Yes, they did. Then I'm going to look at, what was their reason for invading? Because there were weapons of mass destruction there. Oh! We know how that went down, right? Then, is Iraq a sovereign country? Because that's the same questions we asked about Ukraine, right? Did Russia invade Ukraine? And I was like, yes. And why? Because Ukraine is a sovereign country, and because according to the definition of sovereign and also the definition of invasion, and also because of the definition of invasion by the ICC, Oxford Dictionary, that's an invasion. And it is wrong because Ukraine's a sovereign country. So I guess the same should apply to Iraq. Unless, of course, we are of the mindset that Iraq is not a sovereign country. I don't know, but where I come from, Iraq is a sovereign country. So for me, when I apply a critical reasoning, I would say wrong, wrong. Now we talk about justification. I gave the reasons why they think that what they did is justified, which is they think because NATO, Ukraine joining NATO is a threat, that the people in the Donbass need to be freed, and that Crimea is already, people voted by referendum, and I've seen the videos. I'll also link that video where Vice, which is a USA independent journalist and political analyst, whatever, I can't remember what they went there and they covered the whole thing from the Maidan coup right through to the referendum, and they did it in the Donbass and they did it in Crimea. They did all that. You can go and watch that. And then when I look at this side where Bush and Tony Blair was just basically a little bush. He's a bonsai, basically. They decided Iraq has weapons of destruction, let's go and totally annihilate that place. And if you look at what they did in Iraq compared to what they've done so far in Ukraine, To this day, Iraq has still not recovered. The number of people, civilians who died in Iraq, the destruction to the city, they have still not recovered. And then the US on top of that went to fund the rebels like they are doing here with the Nazis. And the rebels are the ones who became ISIS. So I don't know, maybe ISIS, maybe they also like the Nazis now, make ISIS great again. I don't know. But so using my critical reasoning, when I look at what happened here and what I look at here, I'm like, both bad, both situations are bad because innocent people have to die. This one, I think, a little bit worse because the reason for, okay, first of all, invasion is wrong because it's both sovereign countries. But then this one on the Iraq side, for me, is a bit worse because they went in on a pretense. This one, I can kind of, because especially when I think about the threat from NATO and when I think about what's happening in the Donbass. So I'm kind of like, 10% is okay. Here, it's like 100% no. Then the other thing I would think is, okay, so he asked here if the economic sanctions against Russia are proportionate. Of course not, because this side didn't even, there were no sanctions against them, not even 1 cent. Nothing happened, nothing. Now, I don't know why, maybe because maybe the world, of course, the world is happy that, well, not the world, because a lot of our countries, they didn't support the sanctions, they abstained or they were straight no. But the West, and I'm going to be racist here, the white people all decided that yes, Russia's bad, they need to be sanctioned. Whereas with Iraq, everyone not interested. And now looking at the situation, it's kind of like we support the Nazis. So then it doesn't make sense that we don't think that these people here need to also get compensation, or that the US and NATO or whoever must get sanctioned for what they did here. Because if you're a Nazi, you're not going to care about the brown people, because the brown people are subhumans. So it kind of makes sense to me that nobody cares about the brown people, because now we're propping up the superior races, the Nazis, the side, because that's essentially, in my reasoning, is what is happening. Not saying the suffering is not the same, that people die the same. But how we treat the people who are dying or who died are different. Here we're saying their lives, their loss of life has affected us because it's human beings that are worthy. They need to, whoever did it to them needs to be punished. This side is like, yeah, they died, but it just happened. Collateral damage, like, oh yeah, US was just defending itself, NATO was just defending itself, so yeah. So this is what I'm saying. And then the other thing is, I will look at the sanctions on Russia. Like, I will look at what does the ICC say about what is the punishment for invading a country. And yes, sanctions is one of them. And then when I look at what happened with NATO and USA who did not get sanctioned, then, and I look at the ICC, and when I look at the whole picture, maybe they didn't get sanctioned because they are not a part of the ICC. The US has not signed the agreement with the ICC. But then they're not a member of the ICC, but then neither is Russia. If I'm not mistaken, I could be mistaken because I'm just thinking now of, as we're talking now, both of them are not members of the ICC. So how can the ICC be in charge of sanctioning Russia? So how does that work? I mean, I don't know because this is where I'm not stupid. I've not really researched a lot of this. It just came to mind now. And why would the UNSC, the UN Security Council, think it's okay to sanction Russia, but it's not okay to sanction the US and NATO for what they did in Iraq? So my critical reasoning would be it's BS. It's favoritism. It's saying one category of people have more value than another. So it's like that. That's what I'm seeing. So I might be a bad person for thinking that the Iraqis also need to be treated the same as the Ukrainians. I might be a bad person for saying that, but that is just what my analysis is bringing me to, is to this. Okay, so anyway, this video is not as good as the last one I did, as I said, but I think I did cover all the points concerning the questions that Rukube asked, and then what he described in his video about how you draw your conclusions. So as you can see, what I do is everything I'm talking is just a reiteration. It's not that I'm so clever that I can talk. No. I read it somewhere else and then I took it and I'm saying it to you. That's all. So everything I'm saying here, I got from people like Noam Chomsky, John Mearsheimer, Max Blumenthal, Aaron Mate, the two guys from the Duran, Gonzalo Lira, from Colonel Douglas McGregor, from Scott Ritter, from Henry Kissinger, from Joe Biden, from Vladimir Putin, from Cyril Ramaphosa, from all these intellectuals and heads of states and members of state and political analysts and military strategists and independent journalists. There is nothing original that I have said to you. Nothing is less original remark. Everything I'm saying is what I've read from them or heard them say in a video, and then I took it and I'm giving it to you. So can you say that what I am saying is rubbish, or it's embarrassing, or that doesn't make sense? Yeah, you can say that, but then you must remember that the things I'm saying, all those people said the same thing. So that means I am in the same class as them because they are talking just as much rubbish as I am, and they are also as embarrassing as I am for saying these things, and they are just as stupid as I am. And if I am being put in the same class with these people, I feel okay because these are very revered people in their fields. They are experts in their field. So I'm quite happy to be in this field of stupid people who embarrass people and who talk rubbish. So Rukube will look at my video and then he'll tell me what he thinks. Okay, so I hope everyone has a good day. Cheers.